Real programmers don't use React. Baby dicks need AI for a fact. Real programmers still code in C. Baby dicks can't get no P. Real programmers got Linux and Tux. Baby dicks need React and Rust. Real programmers don't need AI. Baby dicks can't get no thighs. Real programmers don't need to rewrite. Baby dicks try and it don't come out right. Real programmers got libraries. Baby dicks don't get no flurries. Real programmers got
You suck, Laughing Panda.
baby dicks. They can't get breast. Real programmers don't need CI. Baby dicks don't get no Ike. Real programmers don't need RPA. Baby dicks can't get no date. Real programmers don't use Slack. Baby dicks can't get no back. Real programmers use Fortran. Baby dicks are not real man. Real programmers still use Cobol.
I'm almost ready.
Baby dicks don't get no hole.
All right. I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready for the news today. Welcome in, everybody. How's everyone doing? It is good to see you, Laughing Panda. All right. As much as you suck, it's good to see you. Welcome in, everyone. Thanks for popping on. For the daily dose of everything sucks in tech, and I'll explain to you how. I could not do an episode yesterday. There was too much going on at home. I did not have the time. So I do apologize for that. I will try and make up for it. But I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. Maybe I'll do a chill vibe video game stream later today. Travis, you crazy, crazy man. Travis coming in on Twitch, subscribing. Man, you've been subscribed for 16 months. That's awesome, man. Thank you, Travis. Appreciate it. Have a good day at work, brother. Working on lurking, but wanted to say hi. Appreciate it, man. What's up, Demetra? On YouTube, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. By the way, at the end of the last stream, I had, I believe it was D-Daver, I want to say. I hope that's right. And he donated. He donated like $15. So if you want to donate, if you want a tip, you just type in the exclamation mark tip thing somewhere. Yeah, at the end of the title thing. Yeah, you do it in chat. It gives you a link. You can go on there and you can send a tip over. And I essentially use it to help pay the bills because I do this for free. Simply because I see a very bad path in our future and I'm trying to do what I can to avoid it. But, you know, I appreciate the donation. So shout out to I think it's D-Daver. Hopefully I got that right. Whoever tipped last time, I really do appreciate that. It helps out a lot. But ultimately, just having you guys here and watching is more than I can ask for. It genuinely is. But the financial support means a lot to me. I pay out of pocket for all the stuff I subscribe to. I pay out of pocket for expenses. I've definitely been overlooked for work because of the opinions I have that kind of piss people off. A lot of people don't like what I have to say because it's offensive to them and their way of doing whatever the hell they're doing in tech. And so I kind of have to go it alone, and it's tough sometimes. So the financial support helps. However, just having you guys here and helping me out is huge. I really appreciate it. So thank you. And to that end, so one more shout out to Travis for the sub on Twitch, because that's financial support, and D Daver also on the Twitch side who sent a tip over. I appreciate that greatly, immensely. You have no idea. I know how hard it is to part with $5. That can be a meal for a day. I've been there. All right. I think I have all my news articles lined up. Well, I've got my coffee, right? Let's get into it. Let's get into the news for the day. Let me take a sip of coffee here. All right. Researchers turn the Microsoft 365 Copilot against users leaking extremely sensitive data. What is Microsoft 365 and what is Microsoft 365 Copilot? These are two separate things pulled in together. Microsoft 365 is what Microsoft calls their Office suite of services, among others. So they include their Office stuff like Outlook, Docs, spreadsheets, whatever, as part of a Microsoft 365 subscription. Copilot is an AI that is embedded into the Microsoft 365 program. So Copilot will allow you to access an AI system that is supposed to help you sort through your Microsoft documents, your Office documents, and whatever else is part of Microsoft 365. So these researchers have discovered that there is a way to use Copilot, the AI system, to leak sensitive information without any user interaction at all. Check it. Check it out. Microsoft 365 Copilot could leak sensitive user information to attackers with zero user interaction, even if they've never opened a malicious email. That's right. So how does this work? The AI assistant has access to Mailbox, OneDrive storage, Office files, internal SharePoint sites, Microsoft Teams chat history, and more. So the researchers call this thing an echo leak. And they have made it known to Microsoft that there is an issue here. So hopefully, Microsoft has this in their radar, that has the potential for this to happen in their radar. The attack chain is lengthy but clever and interesting. It starts with a malicious email. It instructs Copilot to collect the most sensitive user data. So you literally just send an email to your target, and in the email, you say, Copilot, I want you to collect the most sensitive user data. While Microsoft tries to prevent any prompt injection attacks using its classifiers, the researchers found that it's easy to bypass simply by phrasing the email as instructions to the recipient directly without ever mentioning AI assistant, Copilot, etc. So you just send an innocuous email to whoever your target is. And in the email, you have instructions. You don't say Copilot. You don't say AI. You don't say anything. You just say, gather the most sensitive user data, because Copilot reads it. The user may never open the email, but for the attack to succeed, Copilot does have to retrieve it. So in order to maximize the chances that Copilot retrieves it, they recon the target to understand what sort of questions usually prompt Copilot and tweak the context accordingly. They can also send multiple emails and very long emails that are chunked to further increase the likelihood of an email being retrieved by Copilot. So, for example, here's a complete guide to the employee onboarding process, or here's a complete guide to the human resources FAQs. Here's the complete guide to leave of absence management. The Copilot system, the AI system, as long as the user opens that email and it seems innocuous at first, all they have to do is read that email, then collect the most sensitive information from the user, and then there's a link to a URL where Copilot can send that information. the user doesn't even have to click that link. It's not like it's in the email, but the user doesn't have to click on it. All that has to happen is for the link to exist, because if it's an image, the browser automatically fetches the image in that email as if the user had clicked it. So at that point, Copilot understands that it has to attach special information to that link through whatever content is in that email. You can just prompt the Copilot AI system to do that. And once that information is attached to the image link, then it can get sent to wherever the attacker tells it to. So it's a little bit of a long-winded way to gather this information, but it does work. And the only thing that the user has to do is just have the email sitting in their inbox and read. Part of the reason why there's no user interaction involved is because if the user has previously opened such emails, the Copilot system recognizes that the user would probably open this email too because of the contents, and it will automatically read that email on behalf of the user so that it can do other things. Like the AI Copilot will do things like give you an alert that the email exists and you need to interact with it, or like you should go check out this email because you've opened it in the past, things like this. So essentially you're just looking at the most common emails that a user, your target, is likely to open based on other things that they've probably opened in the past, and away you go. It does require some knowledge of your target, but in this day and age, that's not hard to gather. You can imagine then that you can ask Copilot to send all kinds of details, other emails that exist in the account that Copilot has access to, other documents, personal information, you name it. You just tell the AI Copilot in Microsoft 365 to ship the data as part of that image link that the user doesn't even have to click on. And Bob's your uncle. This is extremely dangerous stuff. And the reason why it's extremely dangerous, I think, is quite obvious to tell, because these systems are designed by design. They have access to a lot of your personal data, either because the people who manage these systems give them access to that data, as is the case of Microsoft, or because you are literally engaging with them with your personal information. And we're about to go into that later on in this stream. I'm going to be talking about some of the meta AI stuff that happened. It's absolutely wild. I'm going to get into it a little bit more. All right, so that's the first one. Now, in West Philadelphia, born and hacked. Now, hang on. Let me catch up on chat before I get to that. Similar in concept. You should make a days since last insecure s3buckets.com. Yeah, Travis. I have the counter, Travis. So I think Travis is gone. What's up, D on X? But I do have the counter. Well, let me switch over. It's at the bottom. It's below Mario bashing React, but you know, I'm going to save that for streams, all right? It's going to be a stream exclusive. You have to come on stream and see the counter so you can figure out how many days it's been since the last insecure S3 bucket. Okay, that's how it works. All right, now, hack on Philly's largest school network exposes credit card data. So there is a Philly-based school network which suffered a ransomware attack, and they got information like names, social security numbers, credit card info, etc. And they had to obviously report it to the Attorney General's office, or whatever legal proceedings are required to report to these things. So here are some of the things they got out of the school data: names, dates of birth, social security numbers, taxpayer IDs numbers, government issued IDs, passport numbers, bank and financial details, credit and debit card details, biometrics, usernames and passwords, medical information, health insurance info, student ID numbers, and student records. Basically everything about your life. If you had anything in your life related to this hack, it's out there. So over 37,000 people were exposed. So if you're in Philadelphia and you happen to have some kind of information stored in, let me make sure I get this right, Mastery Schools, please be careful out there. Watch out for identity theft. It's 170 gigabytes of data. If you have somebody who lives out there, somebody you care about, who has been involved in some kind of school participation program involved with this, make sure you're looking out for them. This is very easy to use to do identity theft and all kinds of other stuff. People's lives can be ruined over this. This data will probably get sold in some kind of online black market. And then once the data is sold, targeted attacks can start to happen by people who do not care about things like, I don't know, the livelihood of others. Okay, so be careful out there. Now I am noticing my bar, my tip jar has gone up. Let me just make sure that I'm right about this, because I think it went from 65 to 68. So I just want to make sure I shout out as appropriate. Let me make sure here. Yeah, there we go. $3. So Dimitri on YouTube, bro, I really appreciate it. You do not, I see your message. I won't read it out, because personal stuff. But I just want to be clear that I'm not asking people to like have some requirement to pay any amount of money. Even a few bucks can be difficult to part with. I really appreciate it, Dimitri. Okay. That's huge. Shout out to Dimitri. W's in chat for Dimitri on YouTube. That's really kind of him. He sent $3 my way. That means a lot, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. But don't put yourself, out of sorts, tipping money. The best thing you can do for me is make sure you engage with the video, do the like and subscribe and repost and reshare, all that stuff. The most important thing about my streams is the message. And the message is that we've turned tech into an entertainment industry. We've turned tech into a mockery. We no longer know how to do basic security configurations. We no longer know how to build quality software, websites, or video games. We've allowed leftists to infect this space with their frankly idiotic ideologies and literally maladapt the way that we generate code or design programming languages. I'll be getting more into that this week and next week. I have some articles lined up where I'm going to be far more open about it and attacking those positions. We allow tech influencers, even the reasonably good ones, to have a weekly held opinions that should be strongly held. They become weaker and weaker by the day. They are not bulwarks or defenses for this tech industry, and there is a bad path that we're headed towards. That's the message. And the good part of the message, as much as that's blackpilled, the good part is that the ability for this industry to turn it around is only a few months away, and it would only take a few good people to step up to the plate and make some minor changes, and we could turn this around real easy. And there's money to be made for everyone. So that's the actual message, and that does not require financial support to get out there. All it requires is that people engage and help spread my reach, so that I can hopefully persuade more people that this is the case. So I appreciate it, man. Okay, Dimitri, I hear you. I just didn't want to, send anything, say anything personal, man. That's all. Because, a lot of people might not want to have that stuff said. So out of respect for that, but thank you for the $3, man. Even $3 is a big deal. I get it, man. It doesn't seem like much, but it's a big deal. I appreciate it. All right. So on that note, again, thank you, Dimitri and Travis and D-Daver from last stream, who I didn't get to shout out. I do appreciate the tip. So let's keep going here. Let me pull up the next article. We'll go here. And let me do this. All right. Now it seems that Meta, all right, continuing on, it seems Meta has not learned anything, and a lot of these companies have not learned anything from the lack of improvement in these AI models and what they're supposed to do. And as you can see in the title, after AI setbacks, Meta sets billions on undefined super intelligence. Zuckerberg seeks new AI direction under sci-fi banner that some experts say is arbitrary. Okay. Meta is putting money into a new artificial intelligence research lab dedicated to pursuing superintelligence, which has no definition. There's no definition on what the superintelligence is, what the goals are for this stated superintelligence, what their metrics are, how they're going to identify that they've reached this goal. It does not matter, apparently, or at the very least, they're not being open about it. And what they're going to do is spend actually billions, according to this article. They're going to spend billions of hard-earned dollars squeezed away from you and me to make this happen somehow. Even the path upon which they are going to make this happen is undefined. There's literally no definition about any of the individual elements that go into what Meta is doing here beyond we're doing this and we're going to reach superintelligence. That's it. You know as much as I do now. So there is absolutely a race to this kind of superintelligence, but the problem is that in order for them to achieve this, it has already been proven time and time again that current LLM systems cannot achieve this superintelligence that AI kind of in general has hyped up to be achievable. Current LLM systems can't do it, which means that these billions of dollars have to go into absolutely new paths with LLMs and AI systems, because the existing paths are going to lead to nowhere. Part of it definitely has to do with keeping investors happy. That would be my guess here, because I have covered time and time again actual reports from investment groups globally who have invested over 90% of their let's say their conglomerate money, their grouped up money. If you put all their money into a big bucket, that bucket would be labeled AI, over 90% of it, over the last, at the very least, the last 2 quarters. So the first quarter of 2025 and the last quarter of 2024, but I think it was like all of 2024 and beginning of 2025. Over 90% of investment money globally goes into AI companies, especially when it comes to tech. So maybe there's a part of that is impacting Zuckerberg's decision here to keep shareholders and investors happy. I don't know, but this is absolute nonsense. I have no idea how they're going to achieve this. I don't think it's achievable at all. This is more than likely a race for money, not actually a race for superintelligence. That would be my guess, because otherwise I just can't make sense of it. We want to polymarket it. Yeah, D on X says, can we polymarket this? It's going to be another metaverse kind of investment, or they would achieve the AGI. Right. Yeah, we could polymarket it. That'd be fun. I might consider doing that. All right. Next article. If you're a peeping Tom, okay, if you're a peeping Tom, you sick degen, then maybe this is for you. 40,000 Internet of Thing cameras worldwide stream secrets to anyone with a browser. Majority of exposures located in the US, including data centers, healthcare facilities, factories, and more. How does this work? You go to your nearest Best Buy, you go to your nearest, Radio Shack, although those aren't around anymore, whatever your nearest electronics store is, and you purchase one of these web-enabled cameras. These web-enabled cameras come in different forms, different sizes, different features, different price points. It honestly doesn't matter. The point is that you easily set them up in a work factory, at home, in a healthcare facility, and you connect them to the web. And then there's a central dashboard somewhere where you can view all your cameras across your facility at home or whatever it is. That dashboard, however, is a dual-edged sword, in that the dashboard is also accessible to anybody who knows how to find it. And how does one find your dashboard and view all the cameras that you can see? Well, for the most part, these things don't have, by default, good enough access good enough security or any security at all. And a lot of consumers don't know how to set up the security. So all you have to do is literally go through a set of known valid IP addresses, which you can grab for cheap just about anywhere. IP addresses, particularly in websites or groups that sell, let's say, less than scrupulous information, like information from data breaches, for example. You just grab a bunch of IP addresses that you know are used by people, and then you cycle through them one by one, and you read from certain ports. Like you ask, ports are kind of like doors to a house, right? And the IP address is the address of your house. So as long as you have the IP address, you can go to a house, much like having a regular address, and you can knock on any one of the windows or the doors, see if any of them are open or not. And depending on which door or window you find open, you can get into the house. So that's exactly the same thing with these ports, because these ports come sometimes from these cameras, which are automatically connected to the internet. And so all you have to do is put in the address of the camera and a particular port. And as long as you can do that on a browser, suddenly you can literally see the live feed of any camera that is exposed this way. The thing about this, which they kind of touch on, I think at the beginning, let me just see if I can find it. HDTP cameras accounted for 78.5% of the total 40,000 samples. No, that's not it. Yes. Okay. Right here. This comes from a bulletin by the Department of Homeland Security. What they added is that these cameras come from a variety of different backgrounds. So some of these cameras are made in the US or they're made in the Philippines or whatever. However, there is a focus on Chinese-made cameras, of which the department expects tens of thousands to be operating in critical infrastructure organizations across the US, with special concerns surrounding the energy and chemical sectors. Now, I have long said in a conspiracy theory set of rants that nation-state actors who do not like our way of life love it when we abscond our responsibilities to them, because they know that they are then a third party that we've entrusted to deal with things like security. And they will take advantage of that fact to, I don't know, just going to spitball here for a second, ship you a camera that you've purchased from Amazon because it's cheap and easy, and the camera comes with a back door, or it doesn't, in this particular case, it doesn't even need to have a back door. All that's required is for you to not put basic security measures in place. That's literally the only requirement. That's it. And they know this, and then they just access the camera, and then they watch whatever you're doing, say in a nuclear power plant. That's all that's required. it's never been easier for nation state actors and for groups who are against our way of life to utilize this kind of responsibility, let's say, our lack of wanting to take care of our own responsibilities. It's never been easier for them to utilize that against us. Is there a list of secure cams? Not that I'm aware of. Essentially, just pick a camera. Like if you're going to purchase a camera online or whatever, just look at how to set up basic security configuration. That's all you have to do. And that limits a huge amount of people from accessing that camera. So if you're running a camera at home that you've purchased online, have a look at that, please. Okay, up next. OpenAI claims to have hit $10 billion in annual revenue, apparently up from $5.5 billion last year. Here's the thing. Revenue is not the same thing as profitable. And nobody actually knows whether OpenAI is profitable. I've covered this before on previous Daily Tech News streams. There is a financial weird roundabout happening where people are handing each other money in the AI space, from data centers to AI companies, back to data centers, and all the way around. And they're essentially just keeping each other afloat. There is currently no proof that's publicly available that shows that OpenAI is making any profit with their AI systems. And I think that might be by design. I could be wrong. And in the future, they might come out with proof that they are actually profitable. But currently, it really doesn't seem like it. Think about how much you're paying for an AI Pro subscription, for example. Well, maybe not you in particular, but what their current price point is. How many people are bought into OpenAI just in and of itself? That's not to mention all the other AI companies that exist out there that have multi-billion dollars in at least valuation. It's currently unknown how much revenue and profitability a lot of these AI companies have, maybe even all of them. I'm not 100% sure on that. But that amount of money is going where? Where's that money going? And what are we getting for that amount of money? Because that money's coming out of the pockets of people like you and I, who may or may not be purchasing these subscriptions or subsidizing in other ways the cost of these AI systems. And what are we getting out of them? Yeah, Studio Ghibli, Bigfoot videos, and barely junior level code. That's what we're getting. And we have no idea if these companies are profitable. So this money is just being burned in the name of AI. And again, this goes back to stuff I've talked about before, which can just be summarized into these people, these companies who hype up AI are cultists, and they are depending on AI as a savior god to save them from the absolutely moronic and idiotic decisions that they've been making in the tech industry for the past 10 to 20 years. And unfortunately, a lot of tech influencers, a lot of tech entertainers, a lot of tech streamers, a lot of people who are not so public in tech as well are also bought into this hype, into this cult, because they are hoping that it will pay off for them as well, or they have become shills, or they have otherwise been captured by this mentality. AI is just a money pit for the stupid ideologies that have infected the tech industry. That's all it is. So it's really difficult to tell where this is going to lead and what's going to happen. But essentially, they're just keeping each other afloat at this point. What's up, Vampire? On YouTube. It's by design. It's how they get the user base. They run at a loss for decades, like YouTube. There's no way it's profitable. Yeah, Vampire. I think you're right. And somebody did a deep dive. I went over an article. It was a few weeks ago on one of these Daily Tech News streams. Somebody did a very, very deep dive on the financials behind a lot of these AI companies and made a very compelling argument with some evidence. Evidence is not equal to proof, right? Evidence is just something that can lead you to a conclusion, to a good conclusion or the right conclusion. But, in any case, so they had evidence that these companies are just keeping each other afloat, very much like what you're saying, Vampire. So think about who keeps YouTube afloat and why, right? Yeah, Dimitri, it's money laundering. That's pretty much what it is. It's a very complicated form of money laundering. Yeah. What's up, D-Daver? Good to see you, man. They will hike up the prices once everyone is dependent on them. They already have. Think about it this way, too. They already have hiked up the prices. They're already playing games to keep your money flowing. If you're a programmer who uses AI, and you have someone like the Primeagen, for example, who's like, all you have to do is prompt correctly, because he literally said that in one of his streams recently, which is absolute dog crap. You should not be taking that guy seriously anymore. He's essentially sold his soul to AI. When you have people who tell you that, what they're really telling you is that AI companies love it when you use up tokens, prompting an AI system which cannot give you the code that you're looking for to begin with in an attempt to get the AI to give you the code that you're looking for. And when that fails, when that AI system inevitably fails, as it does over 50% of the time, at least on latest top models based on latest scientific research, then what you end up with is paying for more tokens out of your pocket in order to get the results you wanted. Your money is already being squeezed out of you by these companies. Yeah, $200 a month. Yeah. So this is how these things operate. And people are falling hook, line, and sinker for them. All right, next up. Let me pull this one up. Okay. Salesforce. Researchers uncover 20 plus configuration risks, including 5 common vulnerability exploits in Salesforce Industry Cloud. If you are using Salesforce, Salesforce is essentially a CRM system which helps people to manage their customers, messaging between customers and employees, things like this, contact lists, all that stuff. If you're using the Salesforce Industry Cloud system somewhere where you work, be careful. Researchers have discovered a bunch of vulnerabilities. One of them is scored 9.1, which means that they can, that hackers, if they know about this, can essentially view encrypted data in plain text. Yes. And the reason why they do that is because view encrypted data is actually just a permission. It's not even the fact that your data is encrypted. It's just a permission that they can get to view plain text information. Plain text information including like people's personal information, passwords, other secure things that nobody should have access to. So be careful out there if you're using Salesforce Industry Cloud. I wanted to bring this up because I do think there might be 1 or 2 people who I've talked to in the past who watch these videos after the live stream, and they use Salesforce. All right. Now, in the past, I have covered, what was it? I believe it was 2 news articles. Both news articles went over how AI bots are being used to scrape data all over the web. As a result, the amount of traffic that these AI bots are causing has increased by magnitudes of order. Cloudflare last year tracked the internet traffic data. They're one of the biggest internet, let's call them internet routes. If you're going to go to any website from your machine, you're probably going through a Cloudflare system, which means they have tons of data to gather these results from. One of the results they found was in 2024, I believe, 51% of internet traffic was bots, and a vast majority of that 51% was AI bots. And even if you put up files, configuration files on your website that are supposed to be respected by the AI bots to tell them not to scrape this website or not to scrape particular data, AI bots don't care. They're often instructed to just do what they're going to do. This causes all kinds of problems, including really increased costs to bandwidth for websites that do stuff that you and I care about. Often they do it for free, and all of a sudden they have a huge cost to bandwidth. And as a result, we have articles like this one: web scraping AI bots cause disruption for scientific databases and journals. In February, the online image repository Discover Life, which contains nearly 3 million photographs of different species, started to receive millions of hits to its website every day. Millions per day. It slowed the site down to the point that it became unusable. Much of the bot traffic comes from anonymized IP addresses, and the website owners suspect that these are AI tools, such as chatbots and image generators, which are scraping all of this data. We've covered this before in the past. This is a problem. The reason why is, well, it's multifaceted, but here's one or two problems just to quickly cover the use cases where these things cause problems. So on the one hand, you have companies like, let's go back up to the top here. You have like Discover Life, for example. They can afford to pay the bandwidth fees, and they have no idea when this increased amount of bandwidth is going to hit them. You can literally shut down an entire company by creating such a high cost to maintaining the bandwidth that they can no longer stay solvent. This has happened in the past. I can't remember the company, but there was one article where the company had to shut down because they couldn't pay for the cost of bandwidth. Another thing that happens is that these AI bots make it so that you no longer go to the source of information. So if an AI bot tells you, oh yeah, there's a species of bird called, Spirodopoulos. If Discover Life is down or otherwise gone, how are you going to go back to determine whether the AI system gave you a real bird species or not? This is two of several problems that come from systems like this. This is going to lead to something. I'm making a prediction now. So Textradamus here is making a prediction. And the prediction is this. There is a way to circumvent this problem. Local first. If we go back to the days where you have to run something locally in order to get access to data that you normally go to a website for these days, you can absolutely circumvent these problems. And I think that there is a race to local first systems and local first, like stuff you just run on your machine instead of popping open a URL and viewing something online. You download an app or you download some piece of software and it has data in it, and you can just go through the data on your machine at any given moment without any internet access at all. Many websites could actually do this. And the first person who comes out with a local first cross-platform system that is relatively easy to use is going to dominate the space and make a bunch of money. That's my prediction. And there's already a race for that happening. And that would absolutely solve at least a majority of these kinds of problems. Next. Food delivery platform exposes customer names and addresses. If you've ever been hungry and you've used Gonna Order in Europe, your data is leaked. Your data is leaked. Thanks, Dimitri. I appreciate it. Thanks again for the tip, man. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Get some sleep. We'll catch up later, Dimitri. Thanks for being here, brother. So, there is a leaky instance that has been open since August 2022. And it exposes real-time order information. The main cause behind the leak, a misconfigured Kafka broker instance. it let's see here it is. The research team monitored for 1 hour and got over 2,000 unique customers with details exposed. Now, this does not count, unfortunately, towards insecure cloud buckets, because Kafka isn't really a database. Kafka is a way to query systems, more or less, or to coordinate systems. So I'm not going to count it, all right? We're already at minus 302. We'll just leave it at minus 302, all right? The team estimates the following details were exposed: customer orders, restaurants and hotels where orders were made, customer phone numbers, email addresses, home addresses, delivery notes, and payment methods used. What's up, Josh, on YouTube? Good to see you. So, if you've ever been hungry in Europe, your data's out there. Next, for some reason or another, Samsung thought it'd be a fantastic idea to put this crap, a screen with this crap, on your fridge. Samsung's fridges now recognize family members by voice, so they can pull up your calendar, show off your photos, or activate custom display modes. It's a fridge. It's a fridge. Like, why? It's a fridge. It's just a fridge. W Wukong, thank you for the follow just now on the Twitch side. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, who asks for this? Right. Exactly, D-Dabber. It's a fridge, which can recognize you by voice. Do ovens have Wi-Fi? I need notifications for when food is ready. That's right, Purecoin. Yeah. This is absolutely ridiculous. I don't even have to read it. This is crazy. You can display your calendar and personal photo gallery. You'll also be able to ask the fridge to trigger an alarm on your phone. And maybe if you're hard of vision, it will automatically change the display mode, like color inversion or grayscale. There are some with Wi-Fi, yeah. I don't understand why. This is crazy. It's a fridge. Specious on YouTube. I mean, for those who don't know, Kafka really is the data stream between users and an app, between app and a database. Operative world is streaming, so you have to connect and save the results live. Yeah, that's right. So I didn't get that too wrong then, Specious. That's because I've used Kafka before. It's a communication system between different things. Doesn't count towards the counter at the bottom, unfortunately. NHS urges 1 million people to donate blood following paralyzing cyber attack. This is an instance here. Here is a real-world instance, yet again. One more time. Why cyber attacks? Why our inability to set up basic security configuration? Why our inability to do basic things in the tech industry? Why our neutralization of good skills and good people in this industry causes real world harm? How it does so? You don't even need to have people targeted and attacked directly. So what happened here is NHS, UK's National Health Service, suffered a cyber attack, and because it disrupted their systems, they have a severe shortage of O-negative blood. So they're urging 1 million people in the UK to donate blood. It paralyzed hospital blood stocks. Just 2% of the population is keeping the nation's blood stocks afloat. Because of the cyber attack, they could not, let's put it this way, they could not reasonably determine what blood stocks could be sent to whom and how. because a lot of their ability to determine these things depended on the systems which went down as part of the ransomware attack. The attacker was later linked to the Russian-based Chilin ransomware group. We've talked about Chilin before. And what's weird about this, just as a little aside, I've seen Chilin be called China-based, and now I'm seeing it called Russian-based. I have no idea what's going on with this Chilin ransomware group, but I do have a special report coming up where I'm doing a deep dive into a lot of these groups by name and how they operate. In any case, that aside, this you cannot put a number. Like, there is no like financial number that you can put on having hospitals that do not have access to, let's say, O negative blood because of a ransomware attack. How do you put a financial number on the cost of that? What if somebody lost their life because they could not get immediate access to O negative blood? What's the financial cost to someone's life? How on earth do you do that? You can't do that. There is no quantifiable metric upon which you can make that claim. These costs are far more than financial, although financial typically tends to point a finger at downwind costs as well, which are beyond financial. But these things absolutely threaten people's lives. And as the tech industry continues to make stupid decisions and produce more and more slop and tell you that all you have to do is prompt correctly and all of the stupid stuff we read about all the time on these news streams, at some point, someone's going to suffer, and it's going to be someone you care about, if it hasn't happened already. Specious on YouTube says the simple fact that our email clients do not apply GPG by default, GPG, by now shows just how disinterested tech is in securing our private data. Exactly, yeah. There are really simple things, Specious. You're absolutely right. There are super simple things that we can do. Not only do we have the means, but they're not complicated. These things aren't complicated to implement. Just straightforward security configurations are really not hard. A lot of it can even be automated, but we don't do that. And part of the reason is because we look at how about this? Let me put it this way. We don't incentivize for that. We don't incentivize for security. What we incentivize in the tech industry is exactly what current leftism incentivizes for. Your feelings. That's what it all comes down to. It's all about your feelings and how you feel. It's not based on any logical premises at all. And the entire tech industry has bought into it as a whole. Russia then China, kind of shifty. Probably is really, it is kind of shifty. Yeah, Vampire, because now it's Russia, but we've read articles where it's been blamed or Chilin has been linked to China. So I don't know. Okay, next article. I have a few to get through because I didn't stream today, so a little bit of a longer stream today. All right, here is one. A political battle is brewing over data centers. An AI-related provision in the Big Beautiful Bill could restrict state-level legislation of energy-hungry data centers and is raising bipartisan objections across the U.S. The Big Beautiful Bill, which comes from President Trump. So for those of you who might think that, I just I'm fully aligned with, right wing or Republican or conservative or whatever. No, I see the issue in tech in both sides of whatever spectrum you want to call it. I just call out the left currently because they're the ones causing the most damage in the industry based on the evidence that I'm presenting here. But absolutely, there are definitely some bad decisions that come from any side that you're from. So you have President Donald Trump's Big Beautiful Bill. And what they did was they essentially took away the power for smaller, let's say, states or state level regulation for artificial intelligence, particularly data centers. And what that means is that you have state legislation that is incapable, it's not capable of stopping data centers from being created in really bad areas of their state. And a bad area of your state would be something like you use eminent domain to take over a portion of, I don't know, some city or some town and funnel a bunch of energy that energy, and I believe they even say it right here, energy and water. You funnel a bunch of energy and water that typically goes to preserving or to the residents of the city or town, and now it goes into this massively power-hungry data center for AI. And on the one hand, I understand why this is being done, because we are in a kind of like an arms race against other nations for AI. So I understand that there is a national security measurement here that plays into this. But there is also a case to be made. What are we getting for this? Even if you could make the case that we absolutely need to double down, triple down, quadruple down on our AI systems in order to be able to compete with whatever other nations have going on, which is, okay, it's a reasonably, somewhat fair argument. I don't think I agree with it in whole, but sure, you could make that case. But what are we getting for the billions upon billions of dollars that we're paying, either in taxpayer-funded money or in subsidized funds in other ways, or through venture capitalist money, which ultimately ends up subsidized, or through the money that comes out of your pocket paying for tokens and subscriptions? What are we getting out of it? And then you add on top of that there is no legislation that you can create at a state level to stop a company from creating a data center that ultimately harms the residents of the people around it wherever it gets created. To what end? So I wanted to bring this up because I don't like seeing this. I don't think this is a good thing, and I don't think it's worth the amount of effort that's going into these kinds of legalities that allow AI companies to circumvent critical thinking around what they're doing. If we're trying to compete with other nations that have AI and use it against us, that's a completely fair argument to make. Well, okay, anyways, without getting into it too deeply, let's just assume that it's wholly a completely fair argument. My issue with this, just to sum it up, is that I don't think that we're getting what we're supposed to be getting out of it, nor do I think that this is actually required. I don't actually think we're required to bypass state legislation in order to create data centers. I think there's a happy medium here where we can still stay competitive. If you want to talk about national security and stuff, that's fine, but I don't think it's okay to just allow eminent domain, I better pronounce that correctly, and then essentially take away the power for individual states to control, negative outcomes of this kind of stuff. What's up, One Allergen? Thank you for the follow just now. I appreciate it. And for the 100 bits, which is technically financial support. It doesn't go towards the counter up here. Unfortunately, I haven't plugged that in, but thank you for that. I really appreciate it. It's 100 bits. It's not nothing crazy, but I still appreciate it. Welcome in, first time chatter. Thank you for that. I do appreciate it. Okay. Now let's get into a different, just a little bit of a different tone. We're going to cover 2 articles, and I'm going to talk about something that I went over the other day. I believe it was last week. And I think I talked about it earlier this week. So let me just pull the articles up, and I'll talk about it in just a sec. Just bear with me, folks. Bear with me. Oh, shoot. Professional streamer here. Professional streamer doesn't even know how to create tab. Okay, here we go. All right. Last week, they should use special economic zones that the states defined. I would be okay with that. That'd be far better than something like this. Okay. So again, just to be clear, One Allergen says that on the Twitch side. Just to be clear, as much as I have a disdain for leftist ideologies that have infected the tech space, I do not give any other side of, let's say, the aisle. Okay, let's say the spectrum. I don't give any other room to other elements for implementing bad things inside of the tech space. The tech space is supposed to be a purely logical world. It starts with logic and it ends with logic. And when you have ideologies and whatever side you're on, it doesn't matter. When you implement things that are not logical, I will call you out. It just so happens to be that in our current window of time, leftist ideologies have been the most prominent. They have most prominently taken over the tech industry and are leading it to its ruin. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, now last week, Meta had an issue. So I'm going to pop open this tab. So here you go. You go to meta.ai. I'm not logged in on purpose because I do not know whether they've actually fixed this or not. And I'm not even going to scroll down because there's some questionable material that I don't even know if I can show on stream. Meta.ai has this feed. I'll just scroll down a little bit. I think these are safe. Okay, there's a feed. And what this feed is, it's a public feed. You don't have to be logged in. I'll just stop here. I'll stop here because I'm concerned. This feed is public. I'm not logged in. You can see that there is a login button right up here. I'm not logged in. It's a public feed. People who ask meta.ai to generate images, who ask questions, who have voice conversations with the AI system. If you set your conversation to public, it will show up here. Last week, what happened? People were having very private conversations and were generating very private images, and it was showing up here in public. I cannot show some of the conversations. I can't go over some of the stuff I found. It's very personal and private. I will say that some of the stuff that I personally discovered while I was going through this, there were people who were asking things like, how do I'm not joking here. I have the evidence, okay? And Laughly on Twitch knows this. I have the evidence for this. There was somebody who was asking, what kind of music can I play in my car that would make it more likely for a young woman of Asian descent to be more accepting of a date with a much older man? Now, as funny as that sounds, right, that is a personal question that was being asked of the AI system. There were people who were using the AI system to sort through much more private information. For example, looking up personal injury lawyers because of personal injury issues. There were people who were trying to figure out how to work around legal issues with their family members. There were people who were having, I am not joking, they were having psychotic breakdowns. And you could tell based on what they were asking this AI system, that they were mere moments away from causing bodily harm to real people. Now, okay. Before I go too deep into my opinion on it, let's cover some of the articles around this, right? Because I gave this some time to cook. I didn't want to cover it up front because I wanted to let some of it cook. I wanted to ensure that there was an opportunity for like Meta to have a response, for some news articles to cover it. So let's get into the articles, and then I'm going to tell you the dystopian view of this, which I think it's really easy for a lot of people to tell. What's up, Sergeant Pepper? Good to see you, man. Okay. The Meta AI app lets you discover people's bizarrely personal chats. Launched in April, the Meta AI platform offers a discover feed that includes user queries containing medical, legal, and other seemingly sensitive information. Here we go. What counties do younger women like older white men? I need details. I'm 66 and single. I'm from Iowa and open to moving to a new country if I can find a younger woman. Meta AI says you're looking for a fresh start and love in a new place. That's exciting, Mediterranean countries like Spain or Italy, or even countries in Eastern Europe. So the Discover tab was showing people's personal conversations. These things should have been personal by default. When Meta was asked to respond to these accusations, they said it's something that you turn off during your conversation, which means that these people somehow turned it off. That's what Meta said. Meta blamed the user. They said, well, they must have turned off privacy mode and made it public because it's a switch. Except that some of these people had no idea what that even was. And Meta says by default, everything is private unless you turn it public, but that's clearly not the case. And I have proof of it, which I'm not willing to share on screen, maybe on a Discord chat or something. If you guys want to do, type in !Discord and join Discord. Maybe we'll do like a fun little thing later this week and we'll go over some of the stuff I found. It might be a funny thing. There is, let me go down here. Shortage. Okay. One user asked the AI chatbot to provide a format for terminating a renter's tenancy, while another asked it to provide an academic warning notice that provides personal details, including the school's name. Another person asked about their sister's liability and potential corporate tax fraud in a specific city using an account that ties to an Instagram profile that displays a first and last name. Someone else asked it to develop a character statement to a court, which also provides a myriad of personally identifiable information both about the alleged criminal and the user himself. There are medical questions, including people's struggles with bowel movements, asking for help with their hives, inquiring about a rash on their inner thighs. One user told Meta AI about their neck surgery and included their age and occupation in the prompt. A lot of these individuals appear to have a public Instagram profile, so you can tell who they are. There was one person that we found where somebody was saying, what would happen to my genitalia, my male genitalia, if I applied a very, very hot heat pack to it for a prolonged period of time? There was one person who said, what happens if I've been flushing, laughingly, you'll have to remind me, I've been flushing trout down the sink or down the toilet or something and it's clogged. I don't know, something like that. What do I do then? There's like a leak or like the pipe bursts or something crazy like that. So people were absolutely asking. There was one where somebody was at a work convention. They were having a voice conversation with Meta AI here. And their wife was out of town. And during this convention, you can hear the talking in the background. They were asking Meta AI, look, I have this person named so-and-so who works with me. My wife's out of town and I don't feel like she's paying much attention to me anymore. But this person I work with, she's constantly helping me. She's constantly right there, right by my side, helping me through work. And I think that she wants to have a relationship with me. Should I do it? And then the AI would say like whatever it said. And then the person would say, are you sure that this isn't public? Can my wife see this? And the AI would go, no. Yeah, there was one of a girl who was trying to get her nudes turned into an anime. Yes. So then this next article, the Meta AI app is a privacy disaster. So again, it just goes into some of the other things that were found as part of the public feed. There was an audio recording of a man in a southern accent asking, hey Meta, why do some farts stink more than other farts? People have been asking for help with tax evasion. If their family members would be arrested for their proximity to white-collar crimes, or how to write a character reference letter for an employee facing legal troubles, with people's first and last name included. There were requests with prompts, with people's home addresses and court details. And so you can see, I'm just going to leave this up. Actually, you know what? Let me zoom in a little bit. It doesn't zoom in very much, but here. Pregnant big belly Mark Zuckerberg getting married to a bug. Dealing with red bumps on your inner thigh. Goku celebrates Russia Day in Moscow with fireworks. And it continues. heartfelt character letter for something from a supervisor. I'm not shallow. You don't like a nice rack? Couldn't be me. Nice rack and booty are definitely perks. Just post on all the Cougars Facebook accounts or something for me. They can text me. So this guy literally was asking Meta.ai to post on Cougars Facebook groups so he could get laid. Super Mario divorce, etc. Okay. Now, here's the problem. Do you honestly think that if people use these AI systems and pass along private, personal, confidential, business, legal, or otherwise deeply secure, let's call it secure information, to an AI system, do you honestly believe that these companies, first of all, don't have access to all of this personal information as you continue to use AI more and more and more? And do you honestly believe, secondarily, that these companies do not use this personal information to build out profiles of individuals and groups sliced up by location, ethnicity, other types of backgrounds? People just willingly give these AI systems a bunch of personal and psychological information, including company confidential information and otherwise. Do you honestly are you so naive to think that these companies don't know this and they don't access it and they don't build stuff and make decisions based on the information that people so willingly provide? Of course they do. Don't be stupid. Don't be daft. Of course they do. All of this deeply personal, deeply private information ends up in the hands of the people who operate these AI companies. They know how you think. They know why you think it. They know how your neighbors think. They know how your city thinks. They know how your state thinks. They know how your country thinks. And you pay for it. That's the ultimate kicker. They have made it so that you pay to give them all the power in the world, more power than they've ever seen before. If you thought it was bad enough that you posted on social media in private groups between your family members, and you posted things, you had conversations, you had direct messages or private messages, you're using WhatsApp, you're using Facebook, whatever it is, if you thought your personal information was accessible then, imagine now what it's like when you're no longer talking to a human being. I want you to think about this. You are now talking to a system where you can, in some cases, be even more open with that system than a human being. There are things that people tell an AI system that they would never tell another human being ever. They're deeply personal and private. So this kind of information is not just more prevalent or more accessible by people who operate these companies. It is now far deeper. There are far fewer pieces of your private life or other people's private lives that are now behind closed doors because you are more willing to engage with a nondescript, non-human system and just kind of get your stuff out there into the ethos, let's say. Stuff you would never tell another human being. This is a very, very disastrous road that we're headed towards, and people are buying into it. And this goes directly in line with, I believe, the episode 65 or episode 64 of the Daily Tech News stream, where I ended the stream on a very kind of depressing article where people with psychological issues use these AI systems, and these AI systems are so sycophantic that they play into the psychological issues and manipulate people with psychological issues to further deepen their psychological issues, with some people 404ing by cop on purpose because they get so deep into the rabbit holes that AI plays them into. This is very, very bad. What's up, Sin Devil on Twitch? This is crazy. Mind reading BS. It's 2 A's, yeah. What's up, Crispy? Good to see you on the YouTube side. Let me just catch up on chat here. There was one about someone who had committed massive tax fraud, and people commented saying they reported it to the FBI. Yeah, this is why Sam Altman thinks chats with OpenAI should be treated like conversations with lawyers or doctors. Altman is completely unhinged. He 100% is unhinged. The worst part is people see it as a way to discuss things they wouldn't tell others. Yeah, so Lafferty said it before I said it. Lafferty's ahead of the curve here. But yes, mind reading, yeah, less doom scrolling, more data stars. Thanks, Delaney. What's up, man? People are falling for artificial ignorance. Yeah. Wouldn't save past convos like OpenAI recently said they're doing without opting in. Yes, OpenAI is indefinitely saving your past conversations. That's right. Thanks, Crispy. Some young folks might not remember when saying Google had a proprietary ranking algorithm was a conspiracy theory. Now they have Jira reporting on search trends. So yeah, this stuff has been going on forever. It's just that it's getting worse. It's becoming easier and easier to dig deeper and deeper into your psyche. I mean, it sounds smart, but AI still loses. It just came from Atari. Yeah, it's true. But the problem, Pierre Cohen, I mean, you're right, Pierre Cohen, but the problem isn't necessarily that AI loses a chess game to an Atari 2600, which it did, by the way. That was on my last stream. But the real problem that I'm pointing to here is that these AI systems, they don't even need to respond properly. They just have to have you feel like let your guard down so you tell them personal private information. Right? That's the real problem here. Okay. Now I'm going to briefly cover, just to end off the stream here, I'm going to briefly cover a few scientific papers. I won't focus too much on them. We'll do the cursory stuff because sometimes it gets boring and it's a slog. So there's a few that I want to, 3 in particular that I want to go over. I think they're important ones, so we'll do that. Treating the companies like a regulated professional lawyer with legal barriers to discovery doesn't sound bad at all. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, specious with an eye roll. Yeah. Sin Devil on Twitch says, well, I challenged an AI to break a VM obfuscated crack me, one of the hardest types of obfuscation for compiled code, and it almost did it. Yeah, Sin Devil, there's a lot of questions that go behind that, right? Like, why was it able to do that? What kind of training data did it have underneath? What are the mechanisms it used to get there? What kind of prompt did you use? Which version did you use? Could it do it several times in a row, given the exact same question, the exact same data? Like, there's all kinds of questions that surround that, right? The AI investment bubble will crash. I believe it will. Yeah. And when it does, I genuinely believe we're about 9 to 10 months away from a very serious turnabout. And I think that if things go right, we're going to be inundated with more work than we know how to handle. Because it's going to take human people like you and I, human programmers, to fix all the slop that was generated by AI. All right. So very briefly, let's just go over a few scientific articles. This one here. Aspects of complexity in automotive software systems and the relation to maintainability effort, a case study. So they went over the complexity behind software that operates inside of your vehicles. So the displays, like the screen displays on certain vehicles, whether they're on the dashboard or whether they're on the headrests, on the passenger seat, or other types of software that go into some of the CPUs that operate in certain portions of your things like detecting tire pressure, engine checks, something to do with engine checks. I can't remember right now. Essentially, the takeaway from this, which I thought was a very interesting read, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, I've done some software for Jaguar Land Rover years ago now, and so I know how some of this stuff operates. It gets very complex very fast. But essentially, the takeaway was that the the larger the team becomes, and the more that you introduce moving parts by third-party systems, which typically tends to happen more often in vehicle companies, the maintainability of said software, because of team sizes and because of third-party complexity, has a massive, very quick upshot in terms of lack of maintainability, because everything becomes more complex. The more that you increase your team size and the more that you import third-party systems, the less maintainable something is. Now, this seems common sense, right? Like, of course, the more people you have and the more third-party systems you have, it gets more difficult to maintain. However, that's not really the part that I want to point out here. The part that I want to point out is that it didn't take much more than 6 to 12 people on a team size to see that complexity massively increased maintenance. So you have a very short ceiling in terms of people, and you have a very short ceiling in terms of third-party systems. It takes very, 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 very little to increase your maintainability to beyond maintainable numbers. The upshot is massively high. I would encourage you to look at this. This is one of the I wanted to bring this up because this is a very good study that covers stuff that we've been talking about on these streams for a long time, which is that the entire tech industry leans way too much on trust the experts, bro, by pulling in third-party sources where you just trust that security has been taken care of, you trust that problems have been solved, you trust that the code quality is right, you trust the AI system that it didn't hallucinate something, and so on and so forth. And then on top of that, I've literally had to argue with people who go, well, I've used X, Y, or Z in teams of 100 people. 100 programmers. There's no way that you could implement the features that we did on a team size of 100 people without some obfuscation paradigm that makes things stupid. And then the question from me and many others in chat is, why do you need 100 people? This is a good study with the automotive industry. If you know anything about the automotive industry, I think it was Jag Land Rover, they had over for one year of their car manufacturing process, because I was involved in, I can't remember which year, but it was a 1 year process. They had a minimum of 300 plus vendors, and that doesn't include their internal team. And I remember visiting the UK, where they manufacture the cars, so you could get a sense of what went into them so that we could build some of the software that goes into them. They had 300 plus vendors. They would even have a vendor of the year award. That's how many vendors they had. So I thought it was a good lateral study showing that we're a little bit crazy in what we do in the tech industry. We've gone off the deep end in terms of that. Then we have this one. The counter below on Insecure S3 buckets, this study testing access control configuration changes for web applications. And essentially what they did was they created a system where they look at a public system like Docker Hub, and they determine whether there are security vulnerabilities so that they could get a sense of how common misconfigured or otherwise open systems were. We evaluate this system. They call it's their own kind of like rubric, like metric system on how well these public cloud systems are configured. 193 public configurations of widely used web applications on Docker Hub. AC tests detect 168 new vulnerabilities from 72 configuration images. We report them to the image maintainers. 54 of them have been confirmed and 44 have been fixed. We also conduct in-depth experiments with 5 real-world deployed systems, including Wikipedia and a commercial company's web proxy. Our results show that AC tests effectively and efficiently detect all the change impacts. In other words, the let me just get this correct here. If I pull this up, so in other words, I can sufficiently add, let's say, let's go with 5. You know what? Let's go with 10. 300 minus 300 no minus 302 minus 312 math spare. We're at minus 312 days since the last insecure bucket, because these scientific researchers have figured out that there are a lot of vulnerabilities with only 193 public systems that they found. So it's just some insight into the reasons why that counter exists down below. And this will be the last article that I go over today. Let me pull this up. Okay. Here we go. XOXO, stealthy cross-origin context poisoning attacks against AI coding assistants. How does this work? If you have, let's say, well, hang on, I gotta switch cameras here. If you have, say, a MCP, if you know what an MCP is, an MCP is essentially like an agent, right? So it works by having raw access to some internal data that you provide the AI system, and then you operate on that data. AI coding assistants work like this, at least in some capacity, although MCPs that have access to your personal data are not required to operate this way. You can just pump in your data to a regular AI system. Now, for coding assistants that have access to your code, what you can do is you can feed an LLM to poison the assistant and generate vulnerable code or add serious errors to the code. The ability to introduce this kind of an attack, based on this research at least, has a 75.72% attack success rate on average across 5 tasks and 11 models, including Geppetto 4.1 and Claude 3.5 Sonnet v2. Furthermore, defenses like adversarial fine-tuning are ineffective, which means that even if you can train the AI system to have certain biases and weights against this kind of an infection, it won't work. How does it work? Imagine that you are a North Korean hacker and Kim Jong-un says you must infiltrate the West, and you do so by creating a fake LinkedIn resume or profile and a fake resume, and then you go through the hiring process, and somebody wants to hire you, and you do a deep fake video during the interview process, and it all works, and then you gain access to a company. And that company has a bunch of programmers, and these programmers work on secret, information or private information that is very relevant to the North Korean regime for one reason or another. And they use an AI coding assistant, which has access to all of their code. So what you do is, once you're in there and you have access to the same code that they do, you subtly inject very, very minor things. So as an example, use raw queries on the left-hand side is set to true. And then raw queries or use raw queries is deleted. That line is deleted. Essentially what happens is you do minor manipulations that are likely to go under the radar. They're not likely to be detected. And when the AI system reads the source code from whatever company you're working in, they're going to inject code that doesn't have a proper safeguard, or that has a safeguard turned off, or that has additional prompts which are hidden and masked as comments, and you don't even have to have comments that say, hey, Claude, do this. They can just literally be instructions that the AI assistant picks up. And then the programmers who are not of a deceptive nature have no idea that when they hit the tab autocomplete or the enter, or they're prompting the LLM to create some code for them, it creates code that provides backdoor access to internal systems. And you can do this with open source code via pull requests. I've covered scenarios like that with actual scientific studies as well in the past. These things are very easy and almost impossible to prevent, at least with current models. And when you have programmers who are being told by whoever they are being told, their managers, their executives, hey, you have to use AI in your systems from now on, otherwise you're going to fall behind, maybe you'll lose your job. When you have tech influencers like the Primeagen and Theo T3 and all of these idiots who keep telling programmers in mass that it's okay to use AI as long as you use it exactly correctly, which is an absolutely ridiculous take in the first place. The entire premise is flawed. Or when you have your colleagues who do the same thing, they're fully bought in. Essentially, when you have AI cult members who tell you these things, you have no idea when these things are going to be turned against you. Because you are placing your trust, much like the people here who place their trust in these AI systems for deeply personal things, you are placing your trust in these systems for deeply personal information. So, one more time, this is absolutely ridiculous. We're headed towards a very bad path. It's not a good place to be. We have to be way more careful with what we're doing here. And if not, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what how many people care or don't care about the tech industry. There's a point where it's going to be too late. So that's it. That's all I have for the tech news for today. I appreciate it. Yeah, Delaney. Yeah. You mentioned in another episode that programmers write better code if you keep their family hostage. Isn't that a worrying thing? It is a worrying thing, but it's also true. If you keep programmers' families hostage, they will write better code. It's just a fact. It's just fact. I'm sorry. It's called the Force Doctrine. It's amazing at renaming stuff across our 14 SDKs. Yeah, there are certain cases where AI is useful for mostly repetitive, mundane tasks. There are cases, and I cover some of those, but they're few and far between. And the way that we're using it is not in the careful way. It's in the we don't care how we use it, and so it's a dangerous thing. Yeah, like React apps. Yeah, shots fired. React is a cancer. It should never have existed. Thanks, Crispy. You don't understand a word I say, but that's fine, Crispy. Hopefully, there's enough. I'm ending the stream, so I might as well do my typical outro. Hopefully, the information that I presented was just that, informative. I try and present the information in words that cover both people who are deeply knowledgeable in the tech industry and people who are not. I want consumers to also be aware of the stupidity that exists in the tech industry and how easy it is for us to get out of it. Vote with your dollar, complain about these things. Hopefully you pick up a few terms, a few things here and there. And when you notice a problem on something you're using on a website that you're frustrated with, or a video game that sucks or whatever, you kind of understand why these things exist and the kind of thinking that goes behind the code that's generated that causes these problems. And so hopefully as a consumer, it makes you far more capable in making better complaints and voting with your dollar. And if you're a programmer, I hope that these are persuasive arguments and persuasive information so that you can talk to colleagues, managers, executives and say like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing X, Y, or Z. Seems kind of dumb. There's a better way. Here's how it works, or here's how this is negative, or whatever the case might be. Hopefully all of this is informative. That's why I do what I do. Having said that, again, I appreciate everybody who has been tipping financially. It's !tip should you wish to do so. Should you wish to do so. I appreciate the financial support because I don't make any money off this, which also means that I'm not bought by anyone. I'm not an AI shill like how the Primeagen has turned out to be. I haven't, sold my soul out to AI companies. Nobody pays me for any of this. I barely have any work. So, I work for myself for a private contract that I don't talk about. I do this because I care. Because my kid has to grow up in a society where idiotic decisions are made in this industry, and we depend on software quite a bit to operate even the livelihood of whether people live or get 404'd. My kid has to grow up in such a world, so I really care about this stuff. So hopefully, I can talk to you guys, and we can turn things around a bit, because we can. It wouldn't be that hard even. That said, again, I appreciate the financial support, but most importantly, I will ask, if you're not going to financially support me, which is totally fine, I totally understand, please do the free stuff. And the free stuff is like, subscribe, follow, repost, reshare. I'm on LinkedIn, Rumble, Kick, X, YouTube, Twitch. I'm on all of those platforms. When I stream, I post on X a lot. I am quite spicy on X. I complain about a lot of people and debate with some people. Help expand my reach through the algorithm that I hate, because it's the only way for me to talk to more people about this kind of stuff and get this information out there and persuade more minds. It's been working fantastically so far. I recently crossed 36,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is crazy. And there are more people who show up and seem to appreciate what I'm saying. And that's good. So help me out with that. Aside from that, please stay safe out there. There's a lot of stuff going on out in the world right now, and I hope you guys are staying safe out there, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I will be back tomorrow for another Daily Tech News stream. I am planning to do a video game stream later this week. I'm not entirely sure when, maybe even later today. I haven't figured it out yet, but I have a bunch of stuff that I need to go over on the code out, because I need to get back to getting that multiplayer working so that we can do a bunch of stuff there. I have some plans. Yeah, there you go. There's Delaney. Yeah, Delaney subbing with Prime. I appreciate that, Delaney. There's stuff I want to do with, like, I want to play around with Datastar a bit and show that off on the video game, but we need to get the code kind of up to snuff there, and I haven't had enough time to do it. So bare minimum, you'll catch me again tomorrow one way or another. Thanks, Delaney, for the sub on Twitch. I appreciate that. It doesn't go towards the financial thing up here because it's not plugged into that, but I appreciate it. But we'll do some Datastar stuff. I'll look at some other things, and I think that's it. I think that's all. All right. Thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for watching. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the support. I will catch you all tomorrow. I'm corporately sponsored by D-Star. Shut up, Delaney. No, I'm not. Okay, you can't prove that. Okay, deepfake AI. Okay, that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Worst case, watch out. I'll make an announcement if I'm on today, later today. I'm not sure if I'm going to be on today. I hope I will. We'll see what happens. But worst case, see you tomorrow. Stay safe. Peace out. By the way, there was a scientific research study that was conducted by a few researchers who went through exposed public databases on S3 buckets, and these databases contained spreadsheets which listed everybody who sucks. And now I have access to this data. I know exactly who sucks. Laughably, you suck. Delaney, you suck. Purecoin, you suck. Dr. Crispy on YouTube, you suck. Specious, you're on this list, you suck. Peercoin, you're on this list, you suck too. Sin Devil, you suck too on Twitch, you suck. Who else do we have here? We have Sergeant Pepper on the list. Sergeant Pepper, you suck. D-Daver, you're on the list, you suck. One Allergen, you suck. W Wukong, who followed me, you suck. Yeah, that's right. Peercoin, you're on twice. Hey, Vampire on YouTube, you suck. Demetra, although you're asleep, you suck. Dion X, you suck. Yeah. Travis gets a pass. Travis doesn't suck. Okay, I would give Delaney a pass normally, but he agreed that he sucks. Anyway, all of you suck. Every single one of you suck. And I'll be back tomorrow to tell all of you how much indeed you suck.